Good to see everybody. Um, I think the main theme for this year for us is we want to build on what we did last year. There'll be an awful lot of attention paid to the defensive end. Um, at Christmas time last year, we were 28th in defense. We made some pretty significant changes to the lineup, got more physical, we got bigger. Between Christmas and All-Star, we got to 26th. Traded for Pascal, thereabouts. And from All-Star to the end of the season, we were 18th in defense. So, we made some strides. We learned a lot about our team, about our system. And then, of course, we had, a lot of playoff experience to look at as well. But we believe we can get better. We believe that defense is one of the things that's got to be a constant, if you're going to win a championship. And so a lot of time will be spent on it. I'm not going to throw out any, numbers as to what our goal is. I mean, we certainly want to, get into the top half of the league in defense and, hopefully one day be a top 10 defensive team. To do that, one thing that I've learned is that positional size is very important. When you play small, you get killed. You're going to win. You can win some games with skill and offense, but consistency defensively has a lot to do with size and physicality. And so, if there are ways for us to get bigger to start games that help our long-term growth, everything's on the table. Going into last year, ownership and management talked about a 3-year plan to get to the Eastern Conference Finals. Some things happened that accelerated that. One of them certainly being the Pascal Siakam trade. But one thing that we have been able to do here over this 3 years, the first year notwithstanding, is to win some games and develop at the same time. And the genius of "and" is not easy. But we are still in development on certain levels. And so that's something that, I will continue to talk about. There are only so many minutes. That's pretty clear. If you look at our roster, you can make a clear case that there are 11 guys at least that should be playing in the rotation, and that's unlikely to happen. But I want to see which guys have the wherewithal and the character to just bring a spirit and an energy and a physicality every single day, regardless of what's happening, moment by moment with minutes. And we'll see where the chips fall. Like last year around this time, you guys know the story very well. I, talked to TJ about the fact that he was probably going to be out of the rotation, and, you see how that went. So TJ is an example of a guy that just, he keeps working, he stays ready, he doesn't get distraught. He's a competitor, and that's what a competitor is, and that's what we're developing here. We're trying to develop a group of guys that compete hard against each other and support each other, which is those two things can run diametrically opposed at times.
You hinted at a lot of this stuff in that just now, but between development and defense, what to you gives you belief that this team with a very similar roster to last year can be better than last season?
I think I just went through all that. We did make improvement, and we do understand the things that are necessary, and we have learned a lot about our system, and we will adjust it this year again, we adjusted during the year last year pretty significantly. Our roster is bigger, more experienced. I mentioned that Pascal had a pretty significant influence on our defense and our rebounding. We have him from day one, but we have to decide as a group, as a coaching staff, and as a group of players and coaches that defense is important and rebounding is important. And the other thing that was a major part of our improvement defensively last year was we were more efficient with the ball as the season went on. And so, it's the possession stats never lie. They're just, that is what it is. And so that's boring kind of matter-of-fact stuff, but it's real.
Rick, what would you like to see from Ben Mathurin this year? Oh, I'm sorry. I think I'd figure it out by now. What would you like to see from Ben Mathurin?
Ben has great ability. He has an indomitable will to score. He gets the ball in the basket. What he needs to do this year is adjust his game to how we played at the end of the season and in the playoffs, which is to play fast, to run, to make quick decisions, to keep the ball moving, and to take his defensive ability to another level. He has the physical tools to do it. He spent a lot of time in preseason, working individually on defense, and the things that are so hard nowadays in defense are, obviously guarding the ball with 5-out spacing. The gaps are bigger. That's one thing. The other thing is pick and roll defense. And so, on the ball pick and roll defense is one of the hardest things in our sport. But when you have a strong will and you have that kind of strength, you have the ability to do it. So, pretty exciting, really. And, he saw the things that Ben Shepherd did. And Shep is a guy that plays with speed, quick decisions, defends without fouling. And if anything, he moves it a little too much. Sometimes there's shots he passes up that he probably should take. But that's the kind of spirit that we need from all of our wings, and that's the kind of activity we need from all our wings. And that's Ben, and that's also Jarris. I mean, Jarris now is probably more 3 than 4, partially because of roster construction. But Jarris is a guy that can help us with positional size at the 3 position. And so, those guys are going to be key to our growth.
I don't know how much you've seen so far of James Weissman, but what are your expectations for him, or what do you hope to get from him?
Well, he's a in my view, he's a great young prospect still. He's still very young, 23, 24, whatever it is. We need to forget about where he was drafted, forget about the things that may or may not have happened along the way. He's had a great summer with our staff and with his teammates. He's a great kid. When you stand next to him, you won't believe how big he is. I mean, he is really huge and has great wingspan and stuff like that. We've got to simplify things system-wise for him, because this is a new system. Playing in Detroit last year, they didn't play with the kind of tempo that we play at. We know that he can do it. With the departure of Jalen Smith, we needed to fill that depth center slot with someone with upside, hopefully youth, and room to grow. And so, I think he's a guy that our fans are going to like a lot. Our players have liked playing with him, being around him. He's a real positive, upbeat kid. He probably will be limited headed into training camp. He's got he's got a groin thing that happened a couple weeks ago that we're trying to help him work through. But that will go by relatively fast, and then we've just got to get him in and get him going.
You obviously talked a lot about competition already. I mean, you guys had developed kind of an ecosystem I think it was, to use your term, that really worked at the end of last year with sort of balance of offense and defense. But I imagine you don't want anybody to think they have a job in the bag. I guess, how do you sort of balance the need for, that constant competition for minutes and take advantage of the continuity you have with having guys back that have had roles they've been successful in?
Well, competition is a great thing. It brings out, presumably brings out the best in everybody, and it's no secret to our players that we are deep, we have talent, and you can look at it and say we have a log jam and this or that, or you can look at it and say that this team has got a lot of depth and a lot of juice and a lot of guys that are going to be ready to play, and so that's how I'm going to look at it. I don't know of any NBA team that's ever gone through a season without an injury, so depth will help us there. Certainly, guys will miss some games, and managing the health of a team is something that's become a very important part of coaching. So, one other thing I want to mention on this coming Sunday, Fan Jam will be at noon. And we're going to do it just like we did last year. It's going to be, we actually have referees assigned by the NBA. We would love to have a full building, and we're going to have a live game. It's not just going to be a Fan Jam mess around scrimmage. It's going to be a live competitive game with some kind of consequence. Running sprints or something like that for the losing team. So I expect that to be a competitive game as well. And with only 4 preseason games, adding that Fan Jam game is going to be something that's going to be important. And it'll all be a very important part of the evaluation process for us.
Rick, back here.
Yeah, hey.
Yeah.
How are you?
This is Liam Price. He's one of our Special Olympics Indiana athletes. He has a question for you. Liam?
So, athletes in Special Olympics recite this athlete oath. Let me win, but if I cannot win, let me be brave in the attempt. Can you think of a time in your career where you've had to overcome an obstacle and had to be brave in the attempt?
Myself?
Yes.
Gosh, you guys know how to put somebody on the spot, don't you? Great question. Yeah, I mean, courage in sport is one of the compelling things about it. I think we've all been through something like this. I have great admiration for those who compete in the Special Olympics. My hat's off to you guys that do that. I mean, it's very inspirational. And there were a lot of times during this past season where our team had to really dig down in that kind of a competitive moment or a real challenging moment to raise their level. So there's a lot of examples. I don't know if I can really give you one. I feel it's kind of weird. Go ahead.
You bet on yourself and transferred to Virginia. Went from a smaller program to a bigger program.
Yeah. So there you go. There you go. There you go. Thanks for the question. Yeah. Good, Bob. You got something?
In your conversations with Tyrese, what has he suggested he learned from the Olympic experience? What did he take out of it?
Yeah. Have you guys talked to him yet?
Not yet.
Yeah. He's the better one to answer that. But, we had our meeting last night with the team, our preseason meeting over at Chad's house. He has this court in his house. He has an actual basketball court in his house. And last year we set it up and for our dinner and a little video session and just talking about the season and goals and stuff like that. And We had Andrew Nemhart talk about his Team Canada experience last night, and we had Tyrese talk about Team USA and some of the other veterans talk as well. And Ty said it was an amazing experience. Being around some of those guys who are some of the reverential players in NBA history and seeing how they conduct their business, how they work at their craft day in, day out. He said that was a great part of it. He said he spent a lot of time with Steph Curry, talking to him about how he has evolved during his career. I know they became close and had a lot of meals together and things like that. So, I don't know how you duplicate that kind of an opportunity. You can say what you want to about how much he played or didn't play, but whatever the situation was, you could see on the bench that he was a guy that was always ready to play, that had an amazing spirit and an amazing vibe, even if he wasn't playing. And one of the things about an experience like that for a superstar player like Tyrese Halliburton is, it can be humbling, but you also have a lot more empathy and understanding for the younger players on your team and what they're going through, and it helps make him a better mentor to those guys. And he can say, hey, look, I've been there, I've been through this, a little different, I'm sitting behind LeBron James and Steph Curry, but these are the facts, and these are the things that you have to do. So I would ask him that question. I'm leery about speaking for him, but I know that that's something that would be an obvious thing to me.
I guess for you as a coach then to have them, have him, also have Andrew, have these guys come back with that Olympic experience, you have Pascal coming in with playoff experience, all of this kind of leadership, where do you, there are limited spots, how do you kind of have them distribute that knowledge to guys that, not just at the, in the starting five, but all the way down?
Well, last night was fun because we had 5 or 6 of the guys talk to the team, and they were great. Ben Matherin came up and talked about what it was like to sit out and go through that, and watch the team have success when he wasn't able to be a part of it. Andrew talked about the Team Canada experience and playing for your country and what a different feeling that is. Ty talked about the same thing. Pascal talked about his experience with Toronto when they won the championship. Miles talked about what it was like for him to be with this franchise for so many years. He's been to the playoffs a few times, but never advanced in the playoffs, and what it meant to advance and get to the third round. And they were all very focused on things we need to do to keep growing. That's the really big thing. And then TJ talked about the beginning of the season when the conversation that he and I had, where it seemed like he was going to be out of the rotation, and the importance of staying positive and keeping competing. And really, he's sending a great message to our younger guys, but I think he didn't play at all in game 1, the game at home against Washington. Game 2, he ended up getting in the first quarter. We were down by 17 in the first quarter to Cleveland, and he helped us get the game back manageable, and we were able to end up winning the game. And then he was pretty much in the rotation somehow or other after that. And so, he's got, and as most of our guys do, they have the resourceful gene, which is really important. Whatever the situation, you see a way that you can help. You identify a way that you can get better, even if things aren't going your way, and you find a way to be a great teammate. I mean, that's what being a Pacer is.
I was gonna say. Okay, go ahead, Greg.
Hi. So in today's NBA and specifically on this roster, it seems like Jarris is kind of a different kind of cat in that he doesn't have to get necessarily better at defense, although I'm sure he does. But his pathway to more minutes is better on offense. Is that am I getting that right? And what is his path to getting more minutes?
His path to getting more minutes is like my conversation with him this summer or this, this summer, there were 3 weeks, and then, the summer league practice was going to start. We played 17 playoff games. The team that was the most physical and that got the most rebounds won virtually every game. Jairus came in as the 8th pick. There are certain expectations that come with that. Your family, your friends, your people, all that kind of stuff. You see it unfolding a different way. You see it unfolding where your gifts are going to be the thing that gets you on the floor. Unfortunately for him, he came into a team with a lot of veterans, and then we traded for Pascal. And so, the thing that helps him get on the floor now is physicality, defense, rebounding, and then get on the floor with those high intensity things, and then your other gifts will show out. But we're a team that needs physicality, defense, and rebounding, and that's got to be the starting point. And development is a tricky word. Development can mean you just give a player minutes. We don't want to have that kind of a culture here. We want to have an earn it culture. That's the culture that is the most meaningful and that is sustainable. And so, that's his path. He's a talented offensive player. He can shoot the ball. He can play point guard at 6'7.5", whatever his height is. He's got great vision. All those things, but those aren't the things that are going to get him on the floor for us.
You mentioned Pascal. What did it mean to see Pascal just bring all the guys down to Orlando? I mean, you talked a lot about just kind of pushing him a little bit towards leadership and saying, giving him more reasons to be more vocal. The fact that he kind of took that impetus on himself to bring everybody down there and, kind of be a leader for the guys. What did it mean to see him start to step into that role?
Well, he supplied the venue, but it was the team that decided they were going to do another retreat. They had done Nashville the year before. We had been down to visit Pascal for a dinner that was really a kind of a recruiting dinner for free agency, and saw his facility, and it was like, whoa, this is like, we could have an NBA practice here easily. And so he supplied that. He's been a great mentor for all the guys on our team. I think everybody would tell you that. I think Ty would tell you that too. And when you get to be 30 years old, you've won a championship as one of those guys, but maybe not one of the main guys. Like now, he's one of the main guys. And so, I think the way he's viewing it is that, this is an opportunity for a different kind of meaning to my career, And so he took his time. He found his voice on this team. He didn't just come in the door in late January, yelling and screaming and yakking about, that he had won a championship before. It wasn't like that. He was very respectful. And then as the playoffs began, he found his voice, and it resonated more and more and more. And that meant an awful lot. And then, him being the host of that thing, that was pretty cool. Thank you.